It's a much more effective way of making your political point is to get people to actually change how they think, as opposed to merely, making them firm up in their hatred or anger for you being in their way, or asserting that your way of life is better than their way of life, or all those kind of issues that are essentially revolve around guilt and admonitions and bad feelings. No, all those things are mistakes, political mistakes. And if you go into those kind of emotional spaces, you're going to get predictable responses. And the trip about critical mass was absolutely to create an unexpected and predictable space with unpredictable consequences and unpredictable reactions, both for people in it and people outside of it. And that's probably a big part of the magic at the earliest points, was that worked so well right away. Basically, we came up with a lot of techniques, and they mostly worked pretty well. I mean, we had to deal with a lot of internal issues inside of the ride, too, like the kind of people who were attracted to coming. You certainly got a lot of young, angry men right away, people who were spoiling for a fight. We would characterize them as the testosterone brigade, because they would just be, these guys would come and they'd want to go and, have a big fight with people in their cars, or have a big fight with somebody, the cops or whoever. And not that they would actually do it, that was rarely the case. But it was a certain kind of antagonistic energy that they would bring to bear on the situation. And that was part of the reason we really were very focused on promoting it as a celebration and not as a protest. And so the people who brought their angry protest energy there were encouraged to take it elsewhere, or to just get into a different spirit.
First time I've ridden this thing.
Artistic people were kind of into critical mass, and then they had this venue as far as creativity and your own sense of advertising and how you wanted to put your message out there. And here's critical mass, and you can just kind of do it. It was just a great forum for communication on a really personal level.
Mobility is something very exciting, very rewarding. I mean, that's the way we devised to punish people, is to put them in a room and not allow them to move for years on end, in a prison. So moving about is super exciting. It's like one of the most exciting things. So therefore, to look at how a society chooses to move about within the realms of their territory is very revealing about, what type of society it is. And that in a place like downtown San Francisco, a thing like critical mass should sort of appear out of the blue, for most people out of the blue, is super exciting, in terms of a document of how many people there were that were thinking differently at the same time, and in touch with a bunch of other people that were thinking differently with them in the same direction, So I guess I use like traffic metaphors a lot because of that. I spent quite a bit of time studying billboards, or just looking at billboards first. After I did that, I started noticing these other things that were also out on the street that were even simpler and more direct and kind of more authoritarian, that told you what to do, and if you didn't do them, you can literally get hurt, die, or be fined by society, And since most of the way I encountered these things would be on foot or on a bike, it even made less sense to me, like a one-way street. It's clearly like a cultural determination, a rule, It looks just like any other street, you can zigzag, you can walk, So that seemed like a rather loaded way to communicate, because people are already, when they look towards a sign, they're ready to see meaning, they're ready to see instruction. And so it was interesting for me to use that delivery system and replace a clear instruction with a doubt or a puzzlement.
That challenges societal norms, challenges people in their car, do something until somebody says you can't, and then say, well, why not? And then open the dialogue there. And that's what critical mass did.
It was at the beginning of critical mass. It was Friday in February '93, I believe. And we wanted to create something dramatic for ourselves to express our general irritation with the condition of street travel and roads. And getting doored is obviously a major part of that experience. And so we came up with this idea, the Chrysler Imperial car door with a bicycle hurtling into it and the mannequin flying over the top. And my co-Department of Public Art members worked on this for a couple of weeks, welding and manufacturing the whole thing. And then that morning we got together with a borrowed truck and our paper suits that we'd bought and our new logo and our new clipboard and our new work order from the non-existent Department of Public Art. Who knows where it comes from? Who knows why it's there? Who knows what it's trying to say? You look at it, you think about it, you take it off with you, the thoughts, the memories, the visuals, and having done so, you have a conversation. You have an additional thought of what you can do yourself in life. You get a wrinkle on something you were already thinking about, that suddenly you think about it in a slightly different way. The expectations of what you can do, what you can get away with, are altered because something's been gotten away with and it's been in your face. So guerrilla art is very powerful and very weak at the same time. It is everything. It could cause anything at all, and it could cause nothing at all, and we don't know until we do it. And in the doing of it is the satisfaction. It's not necessarily about results.
There's something about going to a large crowd of people and being able to hand out a flyer and just give it to people and hope that you disseminate information, get discussion going. But most of us have access to photocopy machines. We can go out and type up something and give it out and see what happens.
Excellent. You think you might come on it next time?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
We didn't want to use the media to spread our message. The whole idea was to have a very slow, grassroots, evolving movement that never relied on traditional means of communication that they are now. We wanted word of mouth, xerocracy, no leaders, everybody doing things on their own, people who were self-responsible, who could cork their own ride, who did their own thing and then came together and then did it with other people.
It was only carefully defined about what it wasn't. And by doing that, it left it wide open for all these different kinds of people to make it their own. And I saw that happen over and over in the streets of San Francisco, and it would always just give me this incredible thrill to find somebody else who I've never seen in my life stopping on the side of the street and talking to somebody else and telling them what critical mass is. And I don't care what they said, hardly even. I mean, sometimes I just outright disagreed with it, but most of the time it was just an amazing thing to see people own it, and own it as their own, something they had chosen to do and they had made it their own. And that's an incredibly powerful moment when that starts to happen on such a grassroots scale and spreads by word of mouth primarily around the city, around the Bay Area, and pretty soon around the state and around the world.